So in the module 5, as I already told, we'll talk basically on wired LAN. That is the first chapter in module 5. Okay. So today we will see various concepts under Ethernet. Okay. So before saying what is Ethernet in detail, you have to know few basic concepts, right? So you know, Ethernet is one of the way, this is one of the different types of LANs, right? It's the different types of LANs. There are various types of LANs, say ATM LAN, all those things, FT. All those, there are various types of LAN. So one of the type of LAN is an Ethernet. Um as the time spans, the except Ethernet, the remaining types of LAN is disappeared from the marketplace. Why is this? The reason over behind this is because Ethernet has a capability of updating itself as whenever the requirement, based on the requirement, it keeps updating itself based on the requirement. So that is why it is still in the marketplace. Fine. So then before seeing what is Ethernet protocol in detail, so we will go to a concept called IEEE standard. Okay. So what is this IEEE standard? So you know, when the internet exists in 1985, the Computer Society of IEEE, they started a project. Okay. They started a project called Project 802. Okay. What is this project is basically all about? Okay. This Project 802 is been started in order to set standards to enable a communication between the equipments, and these equipments from various manufacturers. Okay. So what is this 802? It is one of the project is basically to the way of enable to intercommunication among various equipments, and these equipments are from various manufacturers, different manufacturers. So equipment from different manufacturer has some way in order to communicate with each other, correct? So that standards is enabled by using a Project 802. Is it clear? So this Project 802 is also a way of specifying various functions of a physical layer and the data link layer of a LAN protocol. So what does it do? It gives various functions. These functions is basically for both physical layer and the data link layer of the various. So, if I'm talking about Ethernet, it's basically about LAN, correct? So wired LANs, basically about LAN. So this is what a physical layer and the data link layer of a LAN protocols. Correct. So this basically deal with physical and data link layer. You remember those concepts. Is this is fine? So this is all about IEEE standards, and this IEEE, the relationship between this 802 standard and IEEE. Okay, this is the difference between the IEEE. You can call it as a relationship between the IEEE standards, okay, and the basic TCP/IP protocol suite, right? So you know, you have various upper layers like network layer, application layer, all those things, right? And I already told we basically deal with data link layer and the physical layer. What is the difference between these internet model and the IEEE standard? Okay, so the data link layer, you can see here, it has been divided into two sub layers, correct? So data link layer is divided into two sub layers. One is LLC. What is this LLC? LLC is nothing but logic link control. Clear? So data link layer in the TCP/IP protocol suite, okay, but in case of IEEE standard, this data link layer is divided into two sub layers. One is LLC and the other one is MAC, correct? So what is this LLC? LLC is nothing but logical link control. What is this MAC? MAC here is nothing but media access control. Clear? So the LLC and MAC, it is divided into two sublayers. Fine. So in the previous class, when we are dealing with data link layer, we were talking that data link layer is divided into two sublayer. One is data logic control, correct? Data logic control, as well as other one is MAC. So what was for what we were using the data link control? It is basically for data link control is basically for error controls, correct? Data link control, which basically deals with error control, flow control, as well as framing, correct? So the similar way, even here in LLC, even here in the IEEE standard, LLC, that is logical link control, deals with error control, flow control, and a part of framing. It will not deal with the complete framing. It will deal with a part of framing. Correct. So all those concepts we already saw in the previous data link layer, late data link control. Correct. So error control, flow control, and the part of framing. Is it clear? So the next is the MAC. So what is this MAC? Framing is handled. Correct. A part of framing is handled by LLC, and the remaining part of a framing is handled by MAC. So what is this MAC sublayer? It is basically for different. I mean, it includes various random access, controlled access, and channelization. Correct. We saw about multiple access methods in the previous class. Multiple access methods. When we were talking about three methods. One is random access method. The one is the what is that? The channelization and the controlled access we saw, right? So same concept comes into picture over here in the IEEE standard also. Fine. Is it clear till now? So in this slide, what are we discussing? We are discussing about the comparison or the relationship between the standard, that is OSI model, the OSI model as well as the IEEE standard. So all the upper layers will almost remain same, but there is a difference in the data link layer and the physical layer. What is the difference in the data? The data link layer is basically divided into two sublayers: logical link control, and the other one is media access control. And in case of physical layer, it is basically for each and every different correct for different protocols, so Ethernet, physical layer, different media access, you can say, token ring, physical layer, token bus. Correct. So is this concept is clear? Fine. So almost all the concepts about this MAC, what is LLC, we already deal with, right? So what data link layer, it is similar to data link layer. This is similar to media access control, which we discussed while studying data link layer, correct? So the same concept applies here also. Is this is fine? So this is a relationship. If they ask you what is the relationship between the IEEE standard as well as the OSI model, you just give this diagram and explain in detail. Fine. Okay. So next one is IEEE evolution. The IEEE evolution, how did this? I'm sorry, Ethernet evolution. How did this Ethernet came into picture? What was its when actually it came into picture? Correct. So Ethernet LAN was basically developed in around 1970, in the year 1970, by scientists called Robert Metcalfe and David Box. Okay, so these two persons are the one who invented the Ethernet LAN. Okay, since from that period, it started evolving into different generations. There are various 4 generations of an Ethernet. The first basic generation here is a standard Ethernet, which speed is around 10 Mbps. Then comes a fast Ethernet, it is around 100 Mbps. Then Giga Ethernet, so 1 gigabyte per second, and then 10 gigabytes, so 10 Gbps. Correct. So this is the 4 generations of an Ethernet. So this is how the Ethernet evaluation comes into picture. So basically, it starts with standard Ethernet, then comes a fast Ethernet, then comes a gigabit Ethernet, then 10 gigabit Ethernet. Is this concept is clear? Fine. So next we will see various, okay, before seeing what are the frames of MAC, we'll see there are two characteristics of Ethernet, okay. What are the two characteristics of Ethernet? So one is the connectionless, and the other one is unreliable service. So what is this connectionless service? Connectionless service, as the name itself says, connectionless service means there is no requirement of connection, or whenever a sender wants to send the data, there is no requirement of connection establishment and what you can say, connection termination. Correct. You are not supposed, there is no requirement of establishing a connection before transferring any data. So that is what is connectionless. Correct. So there is no requirement of whenever a sender is ready to send the data, without any concern, it keeps on sending a data. Sender keeps on sending a data. So what happens over here is it overwhelms or overfill the receiver. If the receiver was not able to accept all those frames, it starts dropping the frames. Correct. So this happens with the connectionless services. So this is what Ethernet follows. So Ethernet, one of the services of Ethernet is what? Connectionless. It does not, there is no phase called connection establishment and connection termination phase. Correct. So this is connectionless. And the other one is, it is unreliable. Okay, so these both are the services of a Ethernet. One is connectionless and the other one is Ethernet. Clear? So what is this unreliable? Unreliable also, you people would have you people would have come into picture, right? So unreliable in the sense, if the frame is corrupted, okay, if suppose if a frame whatever which has been sent from the server is corrupted during transmission, while the receiver finds that this is a corruption bit, so there is a higher probability of the receiver dropping the frame. There is higher probability of the receiver dropping the frame. This is how the unreliable. It is not reliability. So during transmission, we are not able to track the errors, right? So track the corruption. So it goes to the receiver. So receiver, when the receiver will identify that there is a corruption in the error, or there is some damage to the message, so that time it start dropping that particular frame, correct? So this is what is your unreliable thing, correct? So MAC is basically divided into two. I mean, the Ethernet is basically as provides two services. One is connectionless service and the other one is unreliable service. Did you get these 2 points? Okay, these two are the services provided by the, or you can also call it as the characteristics. Okay, you can also call it as a characteristics of a Ethernet. So what is the characteristics of Ethernet? You should talk about connectionless and unreliable. Is both the concepts are clear? Fine. So once we have done with this, next we will move on to a frame, MAC frame. So it is basically 802.3 MAC frame. Okay, this frame is around how many fields are there here? 7 fields are there here, correct? So 7 fields are there in the MAC frame. So we'll discuss about all the frames in detail, all these fields in detail, correct? So the first field over here is a preamble field. Okay. So the first field over here, you can see it is a preamble field. So how many bytes a preamble field takes? It takes 7 bytes, correct? So it takes 7 bytes. This 7 bytes is basically 7 bytes in the sense 56 bits, correct? So it is a 56 bits of ones and zeros, alternating ones and zeros. So 0 1 0 1 0 1. So like this 56 bits of zeros and ones. Why are we using this preamble frame? Is basically to alert the receiving system, okay, to alert the receiving system that uh, saying that allows the receiver system saying that an frame is arriving. Okay, frame is arriving. So keep up or update your synchronization, or be ready with the synchronization, synchronize to the clock, something like that. So that is what a preamble field is used. Okay, so I will repeat this. So what is this preamble field? Preamble field is basically it is of around 7 bytes. If I say 7 bytes, it is nothing but 56 bits. Okay, so this preamble field is 56 bits of alternating zeros and ones. What is this preamble? What for this preamble field is basically used for? This preamble field is basically used for alerting the receiver saying that a frame is arriving. So update your synchronization, correct? Update your synchronization, or be ready with, or synchronize with the data which is being sent. Is this is clear? So synchronize it. So that is what this preamble field will do, correct? And the next one is SFD. SFD is what? Start frame delimiter. Start frame delimiter, as the name itself says, this indicates, okay, this frame indicates that this is the starting of that particular frame. Okay, why we need to give the starting of a start frame, why we need to indicate that this is a starting frame, is because the what you can say, the MAC frame, the Ethernet frame is of variable length. Okay, each frame is of different lengths, variable lengths. So we don't know which frame is what, correct? So in order to differentiate between each and every frame, we need to indicate the start of a frame. Is this is clear? So why this field is required? SFT field. SFT field is nothing but start frame delimiter. This frame is basically, okay, this frame is basically to deal with or indicates the start of a frame. Why the start of a frame is required? Because the Ethernet frame is of variable length, and each and every frame is of different length. So you need to have some way in order to differentiate each and every frame. That is why we will use SFT. This SFT is of 1 byte length. Clear? So this SFT is of 1 byte length. Is this concept is clear? And the flag, this acts like a flag. Okay, this SFD field acts like a flag. Clear? And this flag, I already told, it is 1 byte, which means 8 bits. Correct? So what is this 8 bit? It's predefined. So 10 10 10 11. So this is a predefined bit. Whenever a receiver sees this flag 10 10 10 11, it assumes that this is a start of that particular any frame, start of any frame. Is this is clear? Fine. Now, if you observe these two frames, okay, if you observe these two frames, that is preamble frame and the SFT frame, preamble frame and the SFT frame are both, or it will not include in your what you can say the data. I mean, it is not a part of a frame. Okay, if I say it is not a part of a frame, it is just included at the physical layer. It is just added at the physical layer. That is what you can say. This is a physical layer header. Am I clear? So the first two field is added at the physical layer. So it is why it is called, it is nothing but a physical layer header. It is not a part of a frame. Is this concept is clear? Fine. But these two are required for us. Correct. So in order to one is to identify whether this is one is for basically for synchronization, correct, to alert the receiver saying synchronize, be ready with the synchronization. SFD is basically deals with the starting of a frame. So these two are required but not a part of a frame. So if this concept is clear till now, fine. So the next one is about destination address. Okay, so this destination is address is about 6 bytes. So 6 bytes is nothing but obviously 48 bits, correct. So what is this destination address basically? I mean, basically it contains, so the destination address contains the address of the destination whichever it is receiving, correct. So the link address of the destination station, correct. It is not the correct complete address, it is a link address of the destination. So it is a link layer address of the destination station or destination device. You can also call it as device, correct? So it is a link layer address of a destination device. Is this is clear? And it is of how many bits? 6 bytes. Next is a source address. Source address, it is also a 6 bytes. It contains a link layer address of the sender or the source, correct. So source address you have, destination address you have. So both is of how many bytes? Both is of 6 bytes each, 6 bytes each, correct. So the next is what? Next is of type length, correct. So what is this type field or length field, you can say. So this type field basically, I mean, this is of 2 bytes. So what is this type field is? This field um, basically it deals with upper layer protocol. It deals with it, or it defines the upper layer protocol. For example, the protocol can be IP, like internet protocol. It can be ARP, address resolution protocol. So include all those upper layer protocols. Is basically is your length or a type. So it is of how many bytes? It is of 2 bytes each. Okay, 2 bytes. Length by length field is of 2 bytes. Clear? Why is this length field or a type field is basically required? It serves basically for the, you can say, multiplexing and demultiplexing, correct. Because multiple, I mean, data received from the multiple sources, you need to combine it, and like whenever you're dealing with a network layer, network layer, in case of network layer you will have a multiplexing or a demultiplexing, correct. So in order to deal with all such functionalities which should provided by upper layer, you should include some of the protocols of upper layer, correct. So that can be included in this particular field of a Ethernet frame. Clear? Okay. Then comes the actual data, or you can also call it as a padding. If I see here, it is there is no specific length which has been given over here, correct? So there is no length which is given over here. Okay, let me. Okay, no specific length is given over here. So what is this length is, I already told it is a variable length, correct? So this is a variable length. It can take any value, but there is a restriction that is nothing but the minimum value it can take over here is 46. Okay, so the minimum value it can take is 46 bytes. Okay, so the maximum value it can take over here is 1500 bytes. Clear? So minimum value this can take is 46 bytes. Maximum value it can take over here is 1500 bytes. Why this 46 bytes and why this 1500 bytes, we will see in the next topic. But now you remember this data field carries a data actually that has been encapsulated from the upper layer protocols. Right, so these data is of variable length. A minimum at minimum it can take around 46 bytes, or it can go till maximum 1500 bytes. It can be any number in between 46 and 1500 bytes. Clear? Is this concept is clear? So the data and the padding field. Fine. So the next one is CRC. What is the CRC? It is cyclic redundancy code, right? So cyclic redundancy check. Usually they uses it is used for error detection. So CRC32 has been used over here. It is of 4 bytes. Okay. What for you are using the CRC whenever there is error happens in the information for the data which has been sent. What does the receiver do if the value after finds that it is not zero, right? If it is not zero, what it should do? It should discard the message, or it should discard the data. You know about CRC. We know we have discussed about CRC, right? The same process happens here. So this is clear? So this is all about the MAC frame. So how many fields are there? 7 fields. Preamble, SFD. SFD is what? Start frame delimiter. Next is destination address, source address, a length or a type, data and the padding, and then CRC. What is the CRC? Cyclic redundancy code or cyclic redundancy check. Correct. So okay. Next we will see about this data padding. We told that it is of variable length. Okay. And the maximum value is 1500, minimum value is 46 bytes. So now we'll discuss about this. Correct. So we told it is a maximum payload is 46 bytes, minimum payload is 46 bytes, maximum payload is around 1500 bytes. Correct. So what is this? So this is about a payload length, or it can also called as, you can also call it as data. So this is a data field length. A minimum frame length, if you see minimum frame length. Okay. So the minimum frame length, just add this. So 46 plus 6 plus 6 plus 2 plus 4, right? So how much it comes around 64 bytes. So 46 plus 12 is 58, 58, 59, 60, 58, 60, 64. So 64 bytes, correct? So that is minimum frame length. Maximum frame length is what? Addition of all these things plus 1500. That is 18 plus 1500 will give you 1518 bytes. Okay. Okay. So this is about the field. Okay, this is about the maximum field length, I mean the maximum and the minimum payload length, and the maximum and minimum frame length, correct? So if you observe, right? So if you observe, what is the total length? What is the total length? We already told in the previous slide, except these two. So leave these two, because these two is not a part of a frame, correct? Preamble and SFT is not a part of a frame. So leaving these two, what is the total length? Now it is 6 bytes plus 2. So 6 plus 12, 14. So altogether it will give you around 8 to 10 bytes, correct? So these 18 bytes, an Ethernet frames, usually it needs Ethernet frames, usually it needs around 64 bytes. Okay, it needs 64 bytes. So what is the 64 minus 18? 64 minus 18 is nothing but 46, right? So 64 minus 18 is nothing but 46 bytes. So 64 minus 18 is 46 bytes. So the maximum minimum payload of this is 46 bits. 46 bytes, sorry. 46 bytes, correct? Is this clear? Why are we claiming that this requires minimum, it requires is 46 is because altogether it can accommodate only 64 bytes. Already 18 bytes is occupied by destination address, source address, length and CRC. Remaining is how much? 64 minus 18 will give you 46. So it can minimum, it can take 46, correct? And the maximum value it can support over here is maximum value. Okay, the maximum value it can support over here is the standard. Okay, it is actually, these numbers is actually defined by the standard. So 1518 frame bytes. Okay, or you can also say that the standard defines the maximum length of a frame to be 1518 bytes. So if we subtract this by 18, what is the value which we get? 1500, correct? So the maximum value it can take over here is 1500. Is this is clear? How did we get this 101518 and 64 bytes? It is a standard, one of the standard which defines that the frame length of the maximum frame length of the frame length over here is 1518 and the minimum frame length is 64 bytes. This bytes 1418 bytes or 64 bytes. So based on already occupied one, the remaining you can get it by subtracting the total minus the total of the remaining, that is 18 in this case. Correct? So did you understand this concept here? How did we claim that the minimum it requires is 46 and maximum it requires is 1500, right? So this is all about um, the Ethernet frame. So next we will talk about the address. Okay. So the address, what is this address? Here is consider an Ethernet network. Okay. In an Ethernet network, each station, if I say each station is nothing but any device, correct? It can be either a network, the device, the laptop, PC, or it can be even a printer, correct? So each station has its own network interface card. Okay. So what is this? If consider an Ethernet network, if any devices which has been connected to the Ethernet network, each and every device has its own network interface card. Correct. So what is the use of this network interface card? It actually gives a device a link layer address. It actually gives a station or a device. If I say station, it can be any devices also, correct? So it basically provides a service which gives a link layer address, clear link layer address. So what is this Ethernet address? It is of 6 bytes. Okay, we are talking about, so Ethernet address is of 6 bytes, correct? So Ethernet address is of 6 bytes. So it is of 6, Ethernet address is of 6 bytes, and it is basically represented in terms of hexadecimal notation. So in the last class we told each and every digit in hexadecimal notation represents 4 bits, correct? So this is 1 byte. So this is 1 byte, in a sense 4 bits you represent it with one hexadecimal digit, correct? So this is 8 bits. So if it is 8 bit, represent this with 2 hexadecimal digit. This is an example of Ethernet address. So I will repeat, Ethernet address is of how many of length? What of length? It is of 6 bytes length. Ethernet address is of 6 bytes length, represented usually by using a hexadecimal notation, and each and every, the hexadecimal notation, it has been separated by hexadecimal notation, separated by a colon between each and every bytes, correct? So we know this is a single byte. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 bytes. Each and every separate bytes is separated by a colon in between. Is it clear? So this is how address is represented in a Ethernet. So this is how Ethernet address has been represented. Is this is clear? Is this concept is clear? So this is of 6 bytes. Is this is clear? So Ethernet address, how will we represent Ethernet address? So next is we'll talk about the transmission of the transmission of the okay, we'll talk about the transmission of address, right? Address bits, the transmission of address. So if I say the transmission of address, the transmission is basically happens here from left to right. It basically happens from left to right, byte by byte. Okay, the transmission happens here from left to right. Say for example, if you have something like this 1100, something like this, okay, 11110000. Consider some example. So how does the transmission happens? It first sends this, it first sends, so from left to right the transmission happens. Okay. However, but if you say that, if you see this, it is usually transmits in a byte by byte, it usually transmits, but the least significant bit has been sent first and the most significant bit is sent last. So this byte has been sent first, correct? So this byte has been sent first, but again while sending, you're going to send the least bit first. So you're going while sending, you're going to send 00110011. So this is how the transmission happens. Even though this is our actual transmission of the address, but while sending, you're going to transmit this. Is this is clear? Is this concept is clear? So let me give you some example and show you. Okay. I was talking about what? I was talking about the Ethernet, I mean, transmission of address bits. So we told it is represented in hexadecimal. So let me consider 47, 20, and 10, or something like this, 1B or something, or it follows, right? So it is of 6 bytes. So I have written only 3 bytes, remaining just assume we have some value. So this is an hexadecimal representation. What is a binary representation of 47? It is 01000111. This is 47 binary representation. For 20, 001, 00, something like this, correct? So if I'm right, it is correct. So 1B is what? A representation 000111011. This is a binary representation. While transmitting, this is been sent in a reverse order. So you're going to send the least significant, I mean, you're going to send in a leftmost, I mean, this byte first, but in a least significant. So just reverse this. So least significant bit is what? 1110001 and 0. So the address will be sent in this particular format. So again here 000000100. Clear? So again now 110110000. So this is how the address has been transmitted. Clear? Is this is clear? Okay. So next we will talk about unicast, a multicast, and the broadcast address. Okay. So the unicast address is what? Unicast address, whenever we have sending a message, the particular destination, that is a unicast address. Whenever we are sending for a multiple address, say suppose you have n networks, we are sending only a group of networks, it is a multicast address. Okay, broadcast is what? Whenever we are sending for all the devices or the connected nodes in the network, that is a broadcast. Just sending broadcast, you know, right? Broadcast. That is broadcast. Unicast, multicast, and broadcast, you know. So the same concept we will discuss how it happens in Ethernet. How to identify whether it is any address is given, whether it is a unicast address or a multicast address or a broadcast address. Correct? Um, if a frame comes from only one station, okay, consider this example. If the least bit, okay, if the least bit, however, if it is 0, it indicates it is a unicast address. You know, if a message, if address has been transmitted, this byte will actually been received first, and the least significant bit will be received first. So this bit, correct? So if this particular bit is 0, it indicates that is a unicast. If this particular bit is 1, it indicates a multicast, correct? So how will we identify a broadcast? The broadcast can, if 48 bits, if 48 bits are 1, okay, if all the 48 the one of the all the 48 bits are 1, then you can say it is a multicast. Clear? So sorry, it is a broadcast. So how will we identifying unicast? If it is 0, how are we identifying it as a given address is a multicast? If the least bit significant is 1. If 48 bits is 1, then you can say it as then it is 1. But that is a broadcast message. That is a broadcast address. Clear? So let me see if any example is there. Let me see with an example and tell you which particular address. Okay, I'll just see. Yeah. So consider in this example, 3 different addresses is been given. Now we need to identify, correct? We need to identify which is the whether it is a unicast or the multicast or whatever, correct? So how will we do this? So take this example. So in this example, we are concerned only with 4A, correct? Because 4A, this is the leftmost bit, which is the bit which has been sent first. Okay, which is a bit which has been sent first. So and we are also concerned with the least significant bit. So how will we represent 4? 4 will be represented with 0, 1, 0, 0. How will we represent A? A will be represented with 1, 0, 1, 0. That is 10, right? So hexadecimal value of A is 10. That will be represented. So this is a binary representation of 4A. whenever this address has been sent, which is the bit which we received, this is a bit which we first received, correct? So this will be transmitted in a way 0 0 sorry, 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 0, correct? This is what which has been how it has been transmitted. If the first bit over here is 0, which indicates what? Which indicates unicast, correct? Which indicates a unicast. So this message, this address is a unicast address. Clear? Or you can also say if it is a odd number or even number. Okay, even that will also give you the correct answer. Okay, is this concept is clear? Next, take another example. Here it is 4720 or something. So how will we represent? We are concerned with only the first, only this first bit of the 6 bytes, right? Only the first byte. How will we represent 0? For 4, we will represent 0, 1, 0, 0. How will we represent 7? 7 will be represented with 8, 4, 5, 6, 7. So something like this, correct? 0, 1, 1, 1, 7. So we are, while sending a message, so this bit will be sent. So 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. Correct? If you see the least significant bit is 1. If it is 1, I told it is a multicast address. Correct? So it is a multicast address. Correct? So if any address is given, you should be in a position to identify whether it is a unicast, multicast, or a broadcast message address, whether it is of what type of address, unicast address, multicast address, or a broadcast address. Is this concept is clear? Okay, how are we identifying a unicast address, multicast address and all? Fine. Okay, next you see the example, see whether it is unicast, multicast, or if you observe, F will be represented with what? 1, 1, 1 when it is, what is this? It is 15, right? So F is 15. So everything is 1, 1, 1. So we are concerned with first 48 bits. If all the 40, since everything is 1, obviously 48 bits is 1. So if the 48 bits is 1, then it is a broadcast message, correct? So it is a broadcast message. Is this concept is clear? Is this concept? So this is an example for a unicast address. This is an example for a multicast address. This is an example for a broadcast address. Is this is clear? So given any address, you should be in a position to identify whether it is a what type of address or not. Clear? Um, I hope this concept should be clear for you. Okay. Next, how are we differentiating? Okay, how are we differentiating? I mean, distinguishing between unicast, multicast, and broadcast transmission. Okay, I'm talking not about address. I'm talking about the transmission now. How are we distinguishing about the transmission? In case of unicast addressing, all the station will receive the frame, but only the intended receiver will keep the frame. That is in case of unicast. In case of multicast, what will happen? In case of multicast, okay, in case of multicast, all the station will receive the frame, but only the intended user, only the group of members will keep the frame, remaining will discard. In case of broadcast transmission, what will happen? All the stations receive the frame and all the stations keep the frame. Correct? Because we know what is the difference between unicast, multicast, and broadcast message. So all the stations will keep the frame, correct, in case of broadcast. But in all the cases, if you see in all these 3 cases, all the receiver will receive the message.